Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty da patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only BodkinShow. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great Bodkin Show. I am your host, Bodkins, of course. Man, what a weekend it has been. Hopefully, everybody has had a great weekend as we settle down on this Sunday night and prepare ourselves for another week ahead. Man, over the weekend, my Cubs took 2 out of 3 from the Brewers, taking first place. So I am super ecstatic for that. Should have had the sweep. Starters go all 6 innings, each 3 games, and scoreless. So at that, so it shows you how bad the Cubs bullpen was. But we took 2 out of 3. Didn't win on Friday, so nonetheless. But we'll take the 2 out of 3, taking first place, and we're on our way. I feel really excited about this Cubs team. I think we're going to do some damage. You know, I know the likes of the Braves and a couple teams like that are always going to be tough, but I think we can win this NL Central, and we're proving it. Guys are out, and we're still winning, and we're still in first place. You had the NBA. You had game 1 of round 2 yesterday of I think it's going to be the series, could be the series of the playoffs, and that's Nuggets, Timberwolves. And then we had game 7 today between Cavs and Magic. And speaking of the Cavs, why not bring in a guy all the way from Columbus, Ohio, who's repping his Cavs gear right now, repping all things Ohio. I thought the Cavs were out. I thought they were down 20 early in that second quarter. I think I even tweeted out, somebody had posted, I was like, it's time to blow this Cavs team up. Donovan Mitchell might have played his last game in a Cleveland Cavalier uniform. Really like that young Magic team. I think they're going to learn from this and grow from this. Boncaro, Franz Wagner, Suggs, Anthony. Like that's a core right there that you could build around and move forward. They're just young and upcoming. But the Cavs get it done in game 7. So to help me talk about not only the Cavs, all things Ohio sports, and whatever else comes out of this man's mouth, host of the show We Like Sports, a man in Columbus, Ohio. Give it up for Mr. Ohio, Ed in Columbus, baby.
What is up, Nick Bodkins? What is up? Let's talk sports. Finally, Ed in Columbus has come back to the Bodkin Show. I am excited. Cavaliers got it done. Game 7. Yes, Guardians got it done. 2 out of 3 against the Angels. Things in Cleveland, Ohio, and especially the Buckeye State are looking great, Nick Bodkins. Happy to be on. I see you're wearing something that kind of I look at, your Cubs. Hey, I know 2016 you were happy that the curse was over with, but now the Guardians have the longest drought in baseball when it comes to World Series. But I won't hold that against you. I'm happy to be on, and let's go, my guy.
Hey, Ed, I'm excited. I was just telling my wife, I said, if there's probably somebody that's a very replica version of me on another show called We Like Sports, and our show's called We Like Sports, Let's Talk Sports. I said, it's Ed in Columbus. You're like my Ohio brother, the way you talk, the way you represent yourself. I appreciate it.
We are eclectic characters. I make no apologies for it. I appreciate you, my guy. I see what you're doing on a weekly, daily basis. And you know what? Hey, keep being you. I love it.
I love it too, Ed. Let's talk about, Mike's right. Let's talk about your Cavs. How worried you first half of the game, the halfway through that second quarter, down 18, and the Magic were just looking like a team that was going to start rolling. And then it seemed to turn once Wagner sat down and Cavs started getting it going.
Well, as we all know, May is Mental Health Month, and any Cleveland sports team is really not good for your mental health. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have been no exception. They've been doing this all year. So when the Cavs got down 18, it's kind of funny, Nick. It's kind of funny. I wasn't as concerned as what a normal person would be because this Cavs team has been so up and down, so bipolar, but in a good way. Because look, as fan is short for fanatic, and it is sports entertainment. They're not scripted like the WWE, which we love as well. But one thing about what happened in Game 7, anything can happen, and it did happen today. Biggest comeback, 18 points in the play-by-play era. So, hey, good, congratulations to my Cavaliers, and well, I should say, anybody out there are Cavaliers. And but we got Boston coming up. But yeah, I was kind of worried. But here's the one thing. Orlando was one of those teams where, look, they're up and coming and they scare me moving forward. And Banchero, wow, hats off to him. That cat is going to be the real deal. But Donovan Mitchell got it done for Cleveland. 89 points, second most to Allen Iverson in Game 6 and 7. So going to need more help moving forward. But I'm excited, Nick Bodkins. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell's been that guy. He scored 50 in Game 6, and they came up short. Got it going today. So I'm an outsider's view. I don't really, you know what I mean. I'm not gonna. Obviously, I pay attention enough to the NBA from a further, and then I obviously during playoffs, that's when I zoom in. So I'm kind of a man without a team as well. So I quasi represent the Bulls. I just like good teams and good players for the most part. But this Cavs team, we know Donovan Mitchell. Can Garland or somebody, who are we looking to, because you're going to need some help with the Boston Celtics. Who are we looking for in this next series to try to help be that, Robin role to Donovan Mitchell's Batman?
Well, it's got to be Darius Garland. And here's the deal. You're a max player, Darius Garland, and you've been known this year to be Mr. Fourth Quarter. Well, not in a good way, Mr. Fourth Quarter with the turnovers and bad plays. But, if he can just step it up, not turn the ball over so much. He hit a critical 3 down the stretch where he actually missed one, got the long rebound, and then got it kicked out to him again, and he made it, and Mitchell went over to him and basically said, kid, keep shooting. So it's going to have to be a Batman Robin. If Spider Mitchell's going to be like LeBron, look, Darius, step up and be like Kyrie. And that's how the formula for this undersized guard Cavs team is going to be. But here's another thing. Jared Allen has not played the last couple games, and that's been a big loss because the Cavs offense rolls through Jared Allen. I think he's the one piece on the Cavaliers team that, he's the glue that kind of holds this whole facet together. And when he's rolling, he can move. It also creates more space because you would think, another big, but no, with him, with Allen being able to move, it creates more space for Mobley then to operate. And Mobley needs to step up as well. So the biggest answer to that would be Darius Garland, but Evan Mobley would be second.
Yeah, Sam loves the drip you got going on, the collar over the jersey. I want to get into your outfit and things like that because you do represent the shirt and tie, but I'll save that for the back end here. I want to continue this Cavs talk, my man. The Cavs seem to be rolling. You said it, Jared Allen's kind of that glue guy. Every team's got that guy. What do you make, though? Because now Porzingis is going to be out for the Celtics, so that kind of helps them out. I like the Cavs' chance a little bit more without Porzingis for the Celtics.
Absolutely. The Boston has multiple weapons, and you can take one of those weapons away. Look, JB Bickerstaff has been kind of taunted by Cavs fans on X and other social media platforms for his rotations or lack thereof at times. And, anytime he doesn't have somebody else to worry about, that can only benefit the Cleveland Cavaliers. But, I say this, if Allen's going to be out, it kind of tit for tat with Porzingis. People, look, I'm not to claim to be an expert in the NBA, but all I've been hearing is the Cavs match up really well against Boston. And I think they do because they have, when they can score, when Max Strus is hitting his threes, when Garland's hitting his threes, obviously we know what Spider Mitchell can do. They can score in bunches. Boston's one of those teams, obviously, they can do the same thing. Obviously, it's a Jason Tatum thing. Can't let him get 50 and have others beat you. If Tatum's going to have 50, we'll shut down the other players, and hopefully I think that'll be the recipe for the Cavs going forward because it's an uphill battle. But, hey, the experts say that we match up well against them, and who am I to go up against the experts, Nick?
You're somebody. You're Ed in Columbus. That's who you are. And sometimes, as we both know, those experts always ain't right. You know what I mean? That's so, you know what I mean? For instance, my biggest beef on this Caleb Williams thing, everybody's trying to tell me he's the next Patrick Mahomes. Well, all these damn experts didn't even know Patrick Mahomes was going to be Patrick fucking Mahomes. So how you going to tell me who the next Patrick Mahomes is if you didn't even know Patrick Mahomes was coming?
Well, I know you're a Packers fan, so let's be real. I don't know if you're really actually rooting for the success of Caleb Williams in the Windy City. But that's not for another day.
I am not rooting for the success of Caleb Williams, but everybody is chiming in. The Bears are still the Bears until they're not, What do you think the Cavs can get it done against the Celtics?
I do. Well, I guess the level of do I think they can win the series? Probably not. If I'm going to put, my think with my mental instead of my heart. But here's the thing. They match up well against them because, like I said, they can score. Do I think they can get 2 games? I absolutely think they can get 2 games. It's the NBA. You got to protect home court. I think going to Boston, obviously, if they could just steal one, just give me one, Nick. Just give me one in Boston and come back to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse with a chance with that loud crowd in Cleveland. I think you could make for a special series. But it reminds me, though, I'm a little bit old school. I remember the Cavs in 92 with Price, Doherty, Nance, Elo, and all of them. And, they played the Bulls in the 92 Eastern Conference Finals. And the Bulls called us cupcakes in game 1 as they beat us by 30. And then the Cleveland Bakeries all came out and they made cupcakes because in game 2, the Cavs won by 30 and brought it back to the Richfield Coliseum. And now that game went 6. That went 6 as well against the Jordan. That was, coming off their back-to-back or their first title. So, look, I don't think this Boston team is the 92 Bulls by any means. And I do like with this Cavs team kind of reminds me of those early 90s Cavs team because maybe not the legitimate. And I think Mitchell can be. Look, I think Mitchell can be that dog. But at the same time, you got Mobley, you got Strus, you got Garland, you got Jared Allen. You got a complete team. And is that enough to beat Boston, who I think is also a complete team? We're going to find out. But I think it's going to be a better series than what most people are predicting.
Yeah, I like the Celtics in 6. I think even it could go 7 without Porzingis because we've seen at times the Celtics come up small, in moments and small, really in games that you expect them to win. They falter a little bit at times or make things interesting. It seems like they said times, I had Big Mike on a couple weeks ago from the Man Cave, and we kind of said it seems like they don't know who's going to ever take over the game, whether it's Tatum, whether it's Brown, like who's that lead alpha? Where in Cleveland, it's Donovan Mitchell and nobody else, right? Like, you know what I mean? So sometimes that helps, and it hurts a team when you don't know who that alpha guy is. But in Cleveland, they got it. And Donovan's a special player. This is actually the first Cavs. You mentioned the 93. It's the first time the Cavs won a series they didn't have LeBron James on the team since 1993. So that Cavs team that you aforementioned earlier. This Cavs team, I mean, I don't know if they can do it. I did say they should blow it up if they don't, because I don't know what Donovan Mitchell's contract, and I don't quite understand, like, who's the young players on this team that can continue, constructed, can they win a championship? Because to me, if you ain't in the top 4 or 5 teams competing for a championship team, what are you doing? Because it's like I was saying, football, the worst place to be is 8-8, 7-9 back-to-back years, because you're not fucking building for a championship. Right. And you're not rebuilding. You're just fucking mediocre, and that's the worst place to be.
That's the purgatory you don't want to be in. So, great question. Look, I think that the Cavs need to look at it this way. Whatever it takes for Donovan Mitchell to sign that max contract extension, everybody else, to me, and I don't care if you're Evan Mobley, I don't care if you're Jared, I don't care who you are, what your contract is. It's sign Mitchell and we'll figure everything else, because you got tradable assets. And, this Cavs team has so much talent. Maybe it doesn't work together. And that's fine. Maybe it's not good enough to get over the hump, but there's enough tradable assets that if you got Mitchell moving forward, he's your max player, he's your guy, he's your star. I get that. You'll have enough to get back and return to assets that I think that this team can not only stay competitive, but maybe even get younger. And then maybe 2. Look at Oklahoma City. Look at Minnesota. I mean, you look at these young cats that are doing it out west, which is I could argue is actually more tougher than the East, and they're getting it done. So
you won't get any arguments there from here. I think the West is tougher than the East.
Yes, so I think that. So I'm not as gloomy to him. So like I said, if this season was all about just winning the first round, just so Donovan signs that max extension, success. I don't care. I don't think JB Bickerstaff is a coach moving forward. Like I said, I'm old school. So just like when Doug Collins was in Chicago, it wasn't enough with the Bulls, so they had to hire the Zen master, Phil Jackson. I think JB has got the Cavs to respectability. The Cavs are a 50-win team with Donovan Mitchell. Whoever you put around them, I think they're that good with the assets they have on the roster currently, or whoever you might trade. So they're 50 wins. But like I said, are you stuck in that 3rd, 4th seed where you're not going to get past the 1 or 2 seeds? Maybe we're in that predicament right now. But you know what? I'd rather be there than you said at the 500, because, like I said, you tinker. Maybe there's a guy from Akron. I don't know. He's a free agent. Maybe he decides that he wants to do a 3rd trip in Cleveland. And
that's not happening, Eddie. You can't believe that, right? You're not.
I'm not believing it. But here's the thing.
Don't tell me it's cocaine when it's baby powder.
No, fair enough. There, I would never do that to you. I would never do that to you because that's a serious issue. I'd never do that. We're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna do it right. But here's the deal. So he comes back for one season. You put LeBron on the Cavs, and you can't tell me right now they're the favorites in the East. They're in the finals. The Cavs
they would be if LeBron was on the team. There, any team LeBron's on,
just like yes,
yeah. Any team with LeBron, even at 40 years old. He's still with any team he goes to. I think he's going to go back to the Lakers at all point signs point to that. But if he did go to Cleveland and with Donovan Mitchell in that gang, like I'd be like, yeah, they're probably the B favorite. Any team LeBron's even on. That's what's crazy about that's what makes I hate I'm always going to be a Jordan guy through and through. I would tell people that all the time.
Me too.
Me too. I just that's my bias or whatever. You know what I mean? But I recently watched LeBron James play live in person for the first time in my life. So I have new respect for him. I was because even at 40 years, and maybe the fact that I'm 37, he's 38 or 39, I'm I can fucking barely get up and off my goddamn couch, and he's out here putting in that work, scoring 30 a game or so. I'm man, it's but anyway, any team he went to, they would still be a heavy favorite. If he went to the Cavs, you would be that's a tough team to beat in the East. They would be right there. I think them and Boston would still be the top two.
I would agree. Now, what do you think about this? LeBron comes back to Cleveland, and there's a guy. He has a son, I believe, Bronny. He goes to Ohio State from the transfer portal, and they have the Buckeye State is feeling good about basketball again. How about that?
Well, you Ohio fucks can't handle. You guys can't have all that nice stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll say this about 2016. When the Cavs won the championship, okay, this Cleveland curse is over with. Until a couple months later, until your lovable loser Chicago Cubs come in and we blow a 3-1 lead. And then I feel like we're kind of back to that. We got to get that off our schneid a little bit. So like that. So I don't know. I feel like it's that Cleveland thing. Yeah, it's always going to be there. And, I want to say this too. Sometimes I come on shows and I'm like you. We say things and sometimes, and that's what we're here for. We're here to say things, okay? But as fans, sometimes I get yelled at. They say, Ed, why are you always being so negative? If I'm a negative fan about Cleveland sports, that does not affect what Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, or any Cleveland Browns or Cleveland Guardians. If they're listening to me and that affects the outcomes of games because I have some doubt, then what are we doing here? We obviously those aren't tough enough fans, tough enough athletes. And I always find it funny, we're being too negative as fans, and that's the reason why our sports teams don't win. Same thing that happened in Chicago. The Cubs always looking for the bottom to fall out. Look at 2003 with the Marlins, and
yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you as a fan or even as people who do podcasts, I view everything. I am up and down all the time. I tell people, especially about my own teams, because. I'm happy when we win and I'm down and pissed off when we lose. So 1 week I might think we fucking suck. And the next week I think we could be going to the Super Bowl.
We're allowed to. We're fans.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you when I'm wrong, and I'll be the first one to tell you when I'm right about something. But you got to be okay to say, hey, I was wrong about it. And I've said that before on certain things, and because it's okay to be wrong. You know what I mean?
We're here to
I'm not
entertain. You have a show to entertain. I come on to entertain. Sometimes our opinions or what happens as fact doesn't always come to fruition. That's okay. That's okay. Because let's be real. When they roll the balls out or throw the first pitch, look, it's not scripted like the WWE, and we don't know that. And you know what I'm saying? So we don't know. We can only give our best, and that's what's so fun about this. And that's why I'm glad that you're a character. I try to be a character because, look, we can get on these different podcasts and stuff, and it's like watching robots talk about, they might win and this or that. Look, if you're not having fun and you're not entertaining in the same, look, that's not fun, and I don't want to have it. I don't want to be there then.
Ed, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what every time I go on somebody's podcast, they ask me what I said. I love to have fun. I said, this is who I am on air is me in person, but I am cranked up at times to a 10 because it's supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun doing this, what the fuck are you doing? Get off the airwaves. And nobody wants to see two robots be like, tonight the Cavs scored 48 points and Donovan Mitchell scored 15. That's not nobody. I'll fall fucking asleep to that shit. And I've been on people's shit who are like that, and I'm never again will I ever go on their shit because I'm not going to be I'm about to put me to fucking sleep.
Right. I got to check my pulse, make sure I'm going all right.
You mentioned that you are a character. Talk to me about the outfit because you represent the shirt and tie every day with the ball cap every show. Why that outfit? First
Okay, here's what I believe. Look, I am a person that believes in branding and everything. So, look, we're getting on these shows and everything, and you want to make a name for yourself. Look, let's be real. If you didn't like yourself, if you didn't like to hear yourself talk, we wouldn't be doing this, and that's okay. Some people are like, "Oh, Ed, you're a loudmouth. You spout." Yeah, I am. I am. Everything people want to say about me, I am. That's why I do this. I try to entertain, and if somebody doesn't like me, hey, you know what I'm saying? They got the power of switching on or scrolling.
That's what I say. Fuck them.
You know, but with the branding and with the t-shirt, with the tie and the collared shirts and everything in the hat, if I stay consistent and people they see right away this is who I am or whatever. I'm a character to some degree. I'm a character, and the fun thing about being in this character is I'm not much different than what you said, like yourself. Like, we are who we are. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes being a sports fan easy for us, because our levels of up and down and roller coaster, that's who we really are. But when we come on here, I just believe that there's a presentation, there's a show to put on for people, and it's just part of the uniform for me. The Yankees put on a uniform, Penn State puts on a uniform, and when I get to put my tie on and come out here and say some outlandish things and some stupid things, and people actually watch, look, I don't take that for granted. I'm gratified for everybody that tunes in, even if it's just one person, and I like who I am. I say this all the time just because it's a Sunday. Jesus loves those that love themselves. And you know what I'm saying? And I love me some me. So you should always
be Terrell Owens.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Why, people always want to say, oh, you're not being humble. You're not being humble. Here's the thing. The love that you have and you want to expound, and whether it be spiritual or whether it just be throughout the universe, there should be no humbleness in it. You should believe that totally 100%. And that's what I try to give every show.
You can love yourself and be comfortable. Really, you're just comfortable in your own skin and be who you are and still be humble. You know what I mean?
How can you love others if you don't love yourself?
Yeah.
How can you?
And I say this all the time. I'm very much like that. So I don't have I don't really say I don't have a gimmick, but I just am who I am. I'm not going to dress in a shirt and tie. Number one, I'm on the show for 2 hours a day. I want to feel most comfortable. I'd show up naked if I could, or, sometimes I have shown up shirtless. Like that, but I always say, do something. What can I do to separate myself? You know what I mean? From everybody else. Because everybody can talk on a microphone, and maybe people can't do it as good as, myself or you can.
We're pretty good at it. We're pretty good. We are pretty good.
But what can I do? I can add little gimmicks. I can add putting a dog mask on, a fucking turd, a fucking necklace, just fucking little props here and there, just to fucking put myself more out there, because number one, it's fun for me, so I don't mind dressing up. When Tanner says, "Hey, let's dress up," and I got all I got's a tie on and a cut off fucking jacket or some shit, just doing certain things that I can do, like you said, to entertain folks, because at the end of the day, this is what it is. And I always say, I always want to put on a great show, no matter how many, like you said, how many viewers are watching. And so I never really care about how many views a show got, how many clicks or whatever. There's only two things I ever really care about. Am I having a good time? And is my guest that I have or my co-host, are we having a good time? If the answer is always yes to that, then that's all that fucking matters. The rest will take care of itself. That's how I always view it.
Well, I wish more people thought like we did, because it'd make for better entertaining pods out there.
Unfortunately, there's only one Bodkins and there's only one goddamn Ed in Columbus.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the Brownies. They get in Jerry Jeudy. Looks like they won the AFC North, made the playoffs. Here is Christian Watson now. What are we expectations of Christian Watson and, more importantly, the Browns this year? Because I had Big Mike on, another big Browns fan, a couple weeks ago. I said this has got to be it for not Christian Watson, but Deshaun Watson. I got Packers mind.
That Packers thing, I knew where you're going with that.
Deshaun Watson. This got to be it for Deshaun Watson, right? Like, this is his last hurrah if they don't get done.
Well, here's the deal. Like I said, it was a 5-year deal going into year 3. They did not, interestingly, punt the ball when it comes to the salary cap. They didn't restructure his contract. And I don't know if they're going to, maybe as it moves closer to shout out to Mr. First Down. We love you. But yeah, so I don't know exactly. I thought it was a little strange. I think obviously coming off 2 back-to-back seasons where he only played 6 games for the Browns each year, that's concerning. And look, I think the thing with this Browns team is, they're stacked. Their defense is really good. Offensively, besides the Nick Chubb injury, but they've made some moves running back wise with Hines, and then the guy from Chicago, who you can tell me more about a little bit, because as a Packers fan, Foreman or whatever like that. So I think that was a good
What's
pickup.
his name? Which one?
Was it was it Deontay Foreman or something like that?
Foreman. Yeah, Foreman was from Carolina, and then he went to the Bears. He's like a bruiser, big bruiser. He's kind of that Chubb type role. Yeah, he's a bruiser. Yeah.
So they're going to have to rely on that. Say what?
Rob.
Rob. Yeah. Shut up. Yes. But I think that like they'll have to carry the load up until like maybe October from what I'm hearing. Maybe I think Chubb's not going to be exactly, obviously not 100%. And maybe they rest him for the first couple 4 to 6 games. So we'll see. But look, new offense brought in Ken Dorsey to run it. Going to be mostly out of the shotgun. Maybe that's what Deshaun Watson wanted. And I also think too, maybe they haven't addressed it and said this yet, but Kevin Stefanski might not be calling the play calls and more. So it'll be a Ken Dorsey thing. So new offense.
Foreman also stepped in for Derrick Henry, Sam says, and he was great there.
Okay. So
obviously Foreman's bounced around the league a little bit and he's done nice in his fill-in roles, I think, for the most part. So.
Okay, well, like I said, he's got maybe 4 to 6 games to fill in more than what he'll have when Chubb comes back. But I'm really excited about this Browns team. Like, I think that it's what bothers me about them is they haven't won the division title since 1989, and like I think you got to win the division first before you have to get a home playoff game. You have to start establishing that you're going to make the playoffs perennially, and they haven't done that. Now it's been 2 out of 4 years with Stefanski, which is fine. But I want to get back to those late 80s days with Bernie where, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 5 years in a row, the Browns made the playoffs. And yes, 3 heartbreaking losses to the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game. But, they were in it. And I feel like they're one of those teams now where, you got to get to the playoffs. And how are you going to beat Kansas City? How are you going to beat, these up? Because I feel like there's teams that make the playoffs every year. And then there's every year there's 2 or 3 teams in each conference that just a little bit above the rest, and that team that gets that home field advantage makes all the difference in the world. And the Browns they're not there yet, but it comes down to Deshaun Watson. I think that's the key. I think everything has been set in place. We've done everything we can. Now Watson, I need you to ball out. Like, we're paying you and making every GMs in the league mad, making owners mad because of your guaranteed money.
I'll say this, Ed. I think right now every owner is sitting back saying, "Told you, this is why we don't. This is why we don't play. This is why we don't pay him guaranteed contracts. Because look, now you're 2 years in, you ain't paid a full season yet, and right now you can't guarantee us that he's going to play great this year. There's no proof, really, right? He had maybe 1 good game this year. That was the game he got hurt, but he hasn't really played in almost 40 full years. And Chael Sonnen once told me, you don't get better at something by not doing it. So, so I don't know where they are, and who knows if Deshaun if he stays healthy, he's got to put up good numbers, or it's going to get real loud in Cleveland. Because at this point, I could tell you, I'm of the opinion that Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, and you probably should have kept him. But because now you let the Texans, Jesus, they reused that trade and rebuilt real fast.
Well, as an Ohio State Buckeyes fan, and you're seeing C.J. Stroud shred your team's defense in a playoff game, that kind of I had mixed emotions about that. But to your point, I think you're absolutely right about Deshaun Watson. It's make or break year. And when we talk Buckeyes, it's like the same thing with Ryan Day. It's make or break with him as well. So a lot of make or breaks in the Buckeye State with football this year. But I think Watson, here's the thing. Is he ever going to be a top 5 quarterback ever again? Probably not. Like I just people want to say the rust. And when you talk about, people being up in arms and stuff like that, if you get on Browns X every day, it's the Watson Warriors. It's the they got another term for the people that dislike him and like him. I mean, it's kind of like the Baker Wars again in Cleveland. It's something about the quarterback position. Chicago's probably the same way. Teams that have not had great quarterback play and a history of not having great quarterbacks. Obviously, that's the most polarizing position in all of sports. I mean, look at the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. Shout out to my guy Allen as well, because we know he loves the Cowboys. But and I think what it comes down to is I just want competent quarterback play. When you talk about Baker Mayfield, under Kevin Stefanski, you look what he did with Kirk Cousins. It's basically a 26 touchdown, 8 interception. And if you're right, if you would have had those numbers in Cleveland the last couple of years, they could have built off that success. They could have maybe made their strides in the playoffs, and we'd be talking about an AFC Championship, Super Bowl berth this year in Cleveland. But now, once again, we're talking about, is he going to play well? Is this team? Because if he doesn't play well, they're 8-9. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I don't care how good your roster is. If you don't get good quarterback play, you're in the middle of the
and
pack.
you're in the toughest division in all of football.
You read my mind. You read my mind.
I mean, all 4 of those teams are playoff teams. I mean, 3 of them made the playoffs last year. And if Joe Burrow's healthy with the Bengals, God knows what you know what I mean. We've seen what he can do. Took him to the fucking Super Bowl, and that team's still intact. You know what I mean? Like, he's still a dude. Like, you look down, and if you ranked out, I don't know, and we'll see what happens with the Steelers made the fucking playoffs with fucking Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky at quarterback last year. And now, you know, I think Russ is going to be better than all 3 of those guys.
Can I say something? Because this really bothers me about Russell Wilson, okay? If Russell Wilson's bad year, because supposedly if you talk to the experts, he had 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, like the same Baker numbers as 2020. That's a bad year. Sign me up for a bad year, Nick Bodkins. Sign me up for a bad year.
Yeah, I think most people look back at the year before he was bad, and it is I just felt like some of it's that corny shit that he does, so the media just wants to turn on him. You know, the Let's Ride, Broncos Let's Ride, and all that shit. I would probably say the thing about Russ too. I always say this is like I've never heard one of his teammates say a good thing about him. So I don't think he invites his friends to the birthday party. His teammates
I'd love to say, going to the old draft day thing.
Right. Like I think that's, but I think he'll be fine in Pittsburgh. I think Mike Tomlin will kind of, you know, be the coach that he needs. Because one thing is Mike Tomlin's a hell of a coach, and Pittsburgh spoiled anybody that says Mike Tomlin should get fired. Get the fuck out of here. This guy makes the playoffs year in and year out. And it's, there's only one other team that wouldn't take Mike Tomlin. And that's the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Yes, like every other team would take Mike Tomlin. He has a winning record every year. He's been coaching, has made the playoffs every damn year. The record still survives, like somehow, some way. And it's been bad. They ain't had a capable quarterback in 6 years. Because remember when Big Ben was throwing the quarterback the last few years, he couldn't throw it past the 5 yards. Yes. So and they were still winning games. So I don't want to hear any Mike Tomlin slander. But is Stefanski safe too? Because it seems like it gets real hot in the kitchen for him.
Yeah, this past season, especially what he did with the quarterback position, winning with 5 different quarterbacks and being 11-6. I'll say one thing. I am very surprised, and I don't know maybe the timing of it, that when coaches and GMs get new contracts, but Stefanski, I would think, is going into his final year. Just like players, you don't work on a final year deal, especially. So it'll get redone. I just don't know when. I'm just kind of shocked it hasn't happened yet. No, Stefanski, he saved his, just like we'll get into Ryan Day. Now this is Ryan Day's Kevin Stefanski's year from last year. Yeah, but Stefanski solidified. He will be the coach moving forward for the next 3 to 4 years, without a doubt.
You mentioned your Ohio State. I'm a Big Ten guy myself. Unfortunately, we don't play offense in Iowa. We just play defense. So because I'm an Iowa Hawkeye guy. What does Ohio State need to do to kind of retake? Are they just cheering that Harbaugh is gone out of Michigan and they think that's going to collapse now and they're going to regain the throne?
Here's two things that happen. I think what they're being proactive, but I think that what you just said is absolutely true. Obviously, what Michigan did, and Harbaugh leaving, and then obviously J.J. McCarthy going to the NFL. Michigan, to me, they're not the top echelon of, but maybe they could surprise and finish 3rd or 4th in the Big Ten. Okay, but here's the thing. One thing I'll call it. Look, I'm not going to shy away from it. I am an Ohio State graduate. I love the Ohio State University, but this year they are the Ohio State Buckeyes using $13.7 million of NIL money. Look, we had a 9/11, if you will, when Michigan won the national championship. Ohio State said, you know what? Hey, we're going to spend the money. We're going to bring in, this guy named Chip Kelly to run the offense. Oh, okay. We're going to get Caleb Downs. And look who they got in the transfer portal. And, it's just amazing. This defense, the Silver Bullets, I think, are back. And this defense is going to be lights out, where the offense, look, if it's Will Howard or even Devin Brown, because shout out to Devin Brown. Kyle McCord left to go to Syracuse, but Devin Brown, who wears 33, which I can never get over, stopped wearing 33 as a quarterback. But Devin Brown stayed, and I thought that was kind of peculiar considering that we have Air Nolan and we got the kid from Alabama, that came up, the 5-star. And it's like all this quarterback competition, and he's decided to stay. But I'm hearing great things about him coming from Ohio State. So I think it's going to be him or Will Howard. And here's the thing with Travion Henderson and the kid that we got from Ole Miss, that running back, we're going to have probably the best running back tandem in the country. And then you put that along with Emeka Abuka, and then you got the freshman kid Tate, probably the best wide receiver in the country. I mean, we're wide receiver university at Ohio State. So as long as the quarterback comes in and doesn't mess up, just even if they have a Kyle McCord type season with the way the defense is going to be, it's going to be us in Georgia. Ohio State won the national championship. The first year they went to the expanded playoff with the 4 teams. This year they're going to the 12 teams. And what better way to usher in that new 12-team playoff format than the Ohio State University rising to the top once again?
I don't think they're winning the Natty, but anytime the Big Ten does well, I think I represent the Big Ten. But I don't know. I don't know.
Who do you got then? Who do you think? Georgia?
It's way too fucking early, Ed. It's fucking May fucking 5th.
But it's not Ohio State. But But here's the thing, Nick. I asked you, but I know it's not Ohio State. But I can't tell you who.
If you're asking me, am I taking Ohio State or am I taking 5,000 other fucking the field? Give me the fucking field, Ed. Okay. All right.
I just wanted to hear you say that. I just wanted to hear you say that.
I don't have a fucking. I will tell you that I don't think it's going to be Ohio State. I would probably, I guess, if somebody asked me if I could put money on it, May 5th, 2024, I'd probably put my money on Georgia. I just don't know how. You can't. I mean, they're so fucking good. I mean, and then they just gave Kirby Smart fucking a shit ton of money. Pretty much, I think he's getting $13 million a year or something like that for fucking. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I know,
ridiculous. I mean, and who knows? I mean, anything is. That's going to be the make the break, right? The 12 teams now. How that's going to work out, because then we could see some upsets. So you know what I mean? It won't be just 4 teams. You ain't got to win just 2 games, and we know anything can happen on any given Sunday, where maybe a team can upset a team on these, especially if Georgia would probably. I don't know how is it going to be. Is it 2? You get 1 home game. You get 1 home game, right?
One home game. I think the top 4 get buys. Here's the thing, too, what I think is going to be interesting about it. Think about this, like Ohio State and Georgia. When the BCS, you had to stay perfect to get in, basically. Basically, it's 1 loss, but it has to be early on in the season or depending on who it is. Now with this 12-team play, let's be real. Ohio State loses 1 or 2 games. They're making it still. Georgia's probably making it still. Alabama's making it. So I think it'll be better for them because, look, if you got a quarterback that's hurt or a running back that's ouchy, you can rest them. Like I know Ohio State goes to Oregon this year. It's not that much of a make or break as it would have been in previous years. So you kind of got that buffer built in now with the 12-team playoff. Now, and also, too, what I like about it is, a team like Ole Miss or some of these other teams that maybe have a generational season 1 out of 10 years. Now they can get in and have a chance as well, where they would never have a chance under this 4 team. So I think it helps everybody. But Ohio State, let's be real, I don't think they're ever not really going to make the playoffs, or Georgia or Alabama with this new 12-team format. I mean, it's going to be
I agree with that. I agree with that. But if Ryan Day doesn't beat Michigan, is it over for him? I think most people had it was over for him last year.
I think what it comes down to, I think Gene Smith, the athletic director, this is his final year. He's retiring in July. We brought in the guy from Texas A&M. But we obviously hired a new basketball coach. Diebler kept his job. So we got the hire there. I think what we want to establish is we told basically Ryan Day, because he's been so great at recruiting. He's been so great at bringing in assistant coaches. You brought in Chip Kelly. But I think if he does not beat Michigan this year, that's first and foremost in Buckeye Nation. He will be out then. And then, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's in Columbus this year. And I think signs point to Ohio State's win this year, Nick. Signs point to the Buckeyes beating Michigan.
Hopefully.
And no pun intended. No pun intended with the Michigan sign stealing. I don't harbor that. And I think, look, I want to shout out Roger first. I do the Dog Chug as well, another podcast I do on Wednesday nights. And Roger, he's a Michigan guy. And shout out to him, because I've always said this. Look, I think Michigan cheated, and you know what? Hats off to them. Look, I think all schools they cheated better.
Every team.
I don't even care. I don't hope.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, every team is doing some shit like that. Same with like the sign stealing in baseball. Like every fucking that shit's been going on for fucking since the beginning of fucking
you ain't
time.
trying, you ain't trying to win.
Yeah,
man, you know?
yeah. I mean, same with like what Bill did with Spygate, all this shit that you know what I mean. Every team is trying to. It's competition. Everybody's trying to get an advantage. Whether you're trying, no matter how you can do it, if you can get an advantage over somebody, you're going to try to do it. You know,
if it was Ohio State stealing signs, I would be saying the same thing that a Michigan fan would be saying: "Quit crying. I'm going to enjoy my national championship, and I don't feel bad." And it's the same thing. So I'm not going to come on here and cry and pretend to play victim. Hey, look, Ohio State, look, they're buying a championship this year, and when they win it, Nick Buckins, I'm going to come on here and say that I am not going to apologize for the Ohio State Buckeyes winning it all.
Took advantage of the system. I mean, You know what I mean? Like, it's about time to me. It's about goddamn time they're paying these kids. The NCAA is pretty much dead. It's going to turn into semi-pro type shit because everybody's going to get paid. But these universities been getting paid off these kids' backs for billions of dollars. And most of this shit, what people don't understand is most of this shit's been going on since fucking, back in the day, fucking for 40, 50 years of people getting paid under the table.
Right.
And those types of things. So now everybody's just getting paid and everybody gets to do it open and they don't have to worry about getting caught.
That you couldn't have said it better myself, my friend. Yep.
And I want to ask you real quick before we get into our dogs and turds of the week. How'd you get into podcasting and what led you kind of down that road? Everybody's got a story, I feel like. So
okay, well,
what's Ed in Columbus's story?
My story is this. Okay, so my wife actually, this is about 2014. I live in Columbus. She started listening to ESPN Cleveland all the time. Okay, so we're listening on the radio, the app, and everything like that. And then we go to a couple listener parties. We had one ticket, so I met some of the ESPN personalities up there. So, and then I started calling in and started being a regular with some of the emails. And shout out to Hammer and Emmett Golden because they really kind of embraced us. And I became one of the personalities, a regular on the, that they would read the tweets and stuff. So I like that. And then one day I just get on YouTube, and I saw the We Like Sports show. This is back in the day. And I started commenting, and I'd say some off the cuff stuff. Like you've seen me comment on Let's Talk Sports. Tanner knows me, Mr. Burton. You guys don't know. Shout out to Yankee Finn. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you guys know my style when it comes to comments and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was always been snarky from that get-go. And so the We Like Sports, they're like, okay. And then they kind of went over, they had COVID and everything. And then they came back, and I started commenting again. And then they asked me to write some articles, and I started doing that. And then they wanted me to host a show because they thought maybe, with my wittiness and things like that, they're like, well, maybe we'll give this a try. And so I did that, and it's been working out great ever since. And I brought some new segments like The Great Debate, Break Ed News, and, I'm helping out Peyton Vince and Casey, and I love Keith Allen. And, if I don't say all their names, they get mad at me. You know how it is, so, but I've been doing that. And then, look, I always say this. Whoever I work with now, your friend of show, we're family now. I mean, it's networking, it's having fun, it's going out and meeting like-minded people. And look, I'll be real with you. When I saw your show for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, there's a guy that gets it. There's a guy that, he's flamboyant. You get in your hot tub, you do crazy stuff. And what I'm saying? That's what separates you. And if you're not trying to differentiate yourself in this business, what are you doing? And plus, like I said, if I entertain myself, then I'm just like a child, and maybe I'm a simpleton, but I have fun with it. And that's what kind of, if I look at this right, if you have fun, others are going to want to have fun too. It's contagious. And that's what I just try to bring.
Yeah, no, man, I shit, I'm the same way, man. You always been, obviously growing up in Ohio, always was just indoctored though, like Cleveland all the way.
Oh, here's the thing. My dad actually, it's a funny story. He's actually from Pittsburgh, but he moved to Cleveland when he was 6. So there is rehabilitation for anybody that's been, under that evil empire regime. So here's the deal. So I was born in Cleveland. I moved to Columbus when I was 12. But, my first baseball game was when I was 9 at Old Municipal Stadium. I always joke around that we were social distancing before it was the thing to do. 5,000 people at a, 75,000 capacity stadium with the Indians losing 100 games. But my dad taught me everything about society. And I want to say this. Shout out to everybody out there. I know these are trying times, but I want to say this. And this is for my dad. I love America. And, I don't care what you think about this country. I just think that everybody should value it. And if you want to make it better, by all means, try to do that. But I don't think saying death to America is, I can't get with that. So, but that's my skill, my political thing, because that's for my dad out there who taught me everything. Sitting in those empty Cleveland Municipal Stadium right field seats. Hey, by the seventh inning, Nick, we had box seats. You pay the $3 for general admission.
Oh yeah.
And by the end, you're sitting in the good seats at the end right there. So that was always
good
stuff.
Yeah. I do that now with I do that now with my boys. We go to a baseball game or something. Like we went to Cubs Cards a couple years ago. We were sitting way up there. I bought the tickets for like $6 each, a ticket. Yep. And I said, boys, all we gotta do is sit here for about till the third inning. After that, keep your eyes out. I said, we'll be able to move down. I said, after the third inning, we can sit wherever the hell we want to sit. And then, sure enough, man, we worked all our way down. We're sitting on the right field side, and just you get to make that, very similar. So I'm the same way. People don't know about that. Like I find people funny. Like it'll be like they're sitting way up high, and it's still like the ninth inning. I'm like, I'd have fucking moved my ass way the fuck down a long time ago. Yeah,
you got to make that executive decision to kind of mosey on down a little bit. But yeah. And then I went to, like I said, I moved to Columbus when I was 12. Grew up here basically, and then went to Ohio State and have been here ever since. I have my family here, but the Cleveland runs strong in me. One thing I love about the Columbus-Cleveland connection is, what the Guardians are a AAA affiliate is Columbus Clippers, so there's a natural fit there. With the Columbus Blue Jackets, the AAA, the minor league is the Cleveland Monsters. So it seems like the Cleveland-Columbus connection is really strong. Cincinnati, I joke about it. It's part of Kentucky, and, we have our jokes about Cincinnati, but, they make for a fun rivalry for this Battle of Ohio. So shout out to them. And they give us tax dollars, so I can't hate on them too much.
What's the expectations of the Guardians this year? You guys are, I think, at first place right now. I know the AL Central surprisingly had 4 teams above 500 at the end of April outside of the White Sox. So because they absolutely stink and could be on a historic record for maybe the worst baseball team in history. What's the expectations for the Guardians? I know my guy First Down Sam is a big Guardians fan, so he's kind of wanting to know too.
Here's the deal. Like anytime you get off to a hot start, an historic hot start for the Cleveland baseball franchise. And look, one thing I always say this all the time, if you want to say Guardians or Indians or whatever like that, hey, you get offended either way. But no, I'll say this. They're the Guardians. They're the Guardians. And I got to keep saying that, Nick, so I don't mess it up on my podcast. But my thing is this. You got out to this hot start. You see teams all the time. The expectations out win the division. You started off 21-12 or whatever, 22 and whatever the record is, first place. You got hitting that usually you don't get, that doesn't show up until June. You've actually got it from the start of the season. You got a new young manager. You got the Naylor brothers who have been nailing the ball, having fun. Jose Ramirez. This is a fun squad. They seem like they all get along. And you know what? At this point now, win the division and just see what happens. But that would be my goals. And then anything less than that, come on. I don't want a fan scared. We were talking about, my negativity and things like that. Does it play a factor into what happens? No, but at the same time, I want to wait. Look, baseball is one of the things where if you don't keep a positive mind in baseball, it's such a long season. That's the one sport that the ups and downs in baseball, you can't have them as much because
you got a week at a time. Right, a week at a time. Yes. Yeah.
And NFL is a Sunday at 4:00. If your team lost, even if they're 5-0 and they lose their first game, the sky is falling. It's time.
It is falling until the next Sunday at noon. You know what I mean? Yes. And then if they lose it back to back, they'll then fucking just punt the fucking season. It's over.
That's exactly it. But
I do the same thing with my fantasy football team. I'm like, I'm fucking finishing dead last, and then I finish fucking first. You know what I mean? But I'm the same. It's emotional each fucking Sunday.
Very emotional. Very emotional.
Yeah, I'm like that with the Cubs right now. We're in first place. Unfortunately, our bullpen is fucking horrendous. Our bullpen, Ed, this is how bad our bullpen is. 63 blown fucking, not just like blown saves, really, 63. So even if you had a lead in the 6th, right, your fucking bullpen blew in the 7th or 8th or 9th,
right.
Then you got the lead again. You got the lead again in the 7th. The fucking next guy blows it. Like, that's how historically bad our fucking bullpen is. And it's just like, how good would we fucking be? Like, we're in first place. I think we got 22 wins right now or something like that. And how good would we fucking be if our bullpen was just halfway fucking decent? Like, halfway where guys didn't have an ERA of 5 or 6 and we could, like we were pretty good. We'd be right there with the Atlanta Braves. People would like, this is the best team in baseball. Instead, we have a glaring ass fucking need. We don't have an eighth or no guy that you run out after our starter goes where you're like, yep, this is guaranteed 3 outs right here.
Well, that's one of the strengths of the Guardians this year. Their bullpen has, but one thing about bullpens, you think one year you have this bullpen and it's good, and the next year it comes back and it implodes. And even this year coming in, I didn't think the bullpen would actually be good. There were a lot of holes, but Clase kind of holding it down. He is who he is, overworked, and I want to see what he's going to look like in September, October if we get there, and it matters because that's one thing we do use him a lot. He led the league in saves last year, but also led the league in blown saves. So that just shows you the usage rate that he has. But no, I think baseball is one of those things where sometimes even if you fix the dam and maybe the Cubs, relievers get better or whatever, or you make a trade at the deadline and then maybe the hitting goes south for a month or something like that. It's so the ups and downs of baseball makes it the marathon that is, and that's why I love it so much. And the NFL is so like a 24-hour news cycle, but baseball is still one of those great things that if you just kind of calm down a little bit, it's never as bad as it seems, and you win a series, you win another series, and you kind of do it that way. But I'll say one thing though too with the Chicago Cubs, just like the Cleveland Browns, being a polarizing team, because the Cubs are that way. They're a national brand, and that's what's one thing cool about the Cubs, a national brand. Yeah. You hear it from not only just from the Chicago people, but you hear it from everybody throughout the nation where every little thing is so magnetized. Everything is such in a bubble, in a vacuum, that it's kind of like your relievers, maybe they're not as bad as what they are, but man, one person picks up on it, it snowballs, they're this and they're that. Now, I know you pay attention to the ERAs of 5 and 6. Hey, you can't hide that. That's bad.
Yeah, you can't hide. Like I said, you can't hide 63 blown fucking saves. You can't hide that. Like you can't.
That's something.
But you're right. Like it looks like in a vacuum, like you said, it does like maybe 1 or 2, and it's really not as bad as they say. But it is that bad this year.
But you give me stats like that. There's no sugarcoating.
Yeah, there's been times, but you're right, and that's the way football is, though. Too, it's like, well, really, this guy's not that bad. It's just he's had a bad game or two, and then like at the beginning of the year, it's funny. Jordan Love, right? Like everybody was dogging on him, like this kid can't fucking play. He can't fucking play. And then halfway through the season, and now after the playoffs, like this kid's the fucking guy. This kid's and I don't know. I didn't doubt him halfway through the year. When we were in our struggles earlier, I was watching it. I said, the kid doesn't throw the ball down the field. I said, I don't know if that is Matt LaFleur play calling. I don't know if that's Jordan Love can't throw the ball down the field. I don't know if that's receivers can't get open. Like I couldn't figure it out. Like didn't know what, right? And then halfway through the year, Matt LaFleur said, like, that's on me. We've had conservative fucking play calling. I got to let the kid fucking rip it. Just let him fucking be. Let him go. And sure enough, that's when Jordan turned it around.
Yeah, outside perspective. Look, like you talk about Baker Mayfield being better than Deshaun Watson, and I can see where the outside perspective would be that because, what I'm saying, like being in a Cleveland vacuum, I'm like, you see the ups and downs of the posts of social media, and you kind of fall into that trap. But look, Jordan Love, let's be real. The Packers, you've had so much success with your quarterbacks. Even back to Don Majkowski, the Magic Man back in the day.
Yeah.
You had fun with him, and then you got Brett Favre, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers. But I'll tell you what, if Jordan Love is what he was last season, look at his stats. Like, I think he's the guy for you guys. Look, I know it's easy, like up and down. Maybe he'll settle out. Look, I would love to have a Jordan Love problem in Cleveland. Okay, I would love to have your problem.
I think he can play. I really can. After they came out and said, like, after Matt LaFleur was like, I got to let the kid go, then it was like, oh, it's clearly play calling because the receivers played great and some of it's mature. They were young, right? We're the youngest team in the NFL last year, and then they go to win the playoffs. So it's like last year and to me, like, so I enjoyed, like you mentioned 2016 Cubs. I actually enjoyed 2015 Cubs and even like last year Packers more than I have like enjoyed a lot of teams. Mainly because like the expectations weren't there, right? So like there's no expectations of like making the playoffs or going on a run. It's just like, hey, this is our team. Let's see what happens. I don't really know what's going to happen, but like when you got the expectations, like for the last 4 years that we had Aaron Rodgers, right? It was like Super Bowl or bust, Super Bowl or bust. Like 2016 for the Cubs was like World Series or fucking bust. Like you got, so it's more like anxiety ridden. I feel like, because you're like, fuck, man, this is it. Like, we got to win this some bitch. Where like you don't get to just sit back and enjoy the ride. Like last year, I got to sit back and enjoy that Packers run. Just like, we're not supposed to fucking be here, and this feels great because, like, you know what I mean. Like, I like when somebody says, "Here, you already have a seat at the table. Have a seat, and then you can fight it out with these other 4 teams. Who gets the biggest plate." But when you get to smack everybody in the fucking face and say, move over, I just fucking made a seat, those seasons are funner to me as a fan than when you already allegedly have a plate.
When you can tell everybody, acknowledge me. That's
exactly.
And another thing, too, like, it's like when the Cavs, like, you know, obviously they won it in 2016, but every year after that, 2017, 2018, it ruins the regular season because when you're expected to win it all or nothing and it's a bust, winner, you know, then it's like the regular season kind of gets diminished. You just want to get to the postseason. Then if you ultimately don't win it, it's a failure. And like you said, having seasons come out of nowhere, it's fun. You can enjoy the ride. It's like you said, move over. You got a new fresh face in town. So yeah, by far I would take that. But I want to win. I just want to win as a Cleveland fan. I don't care how it happens.
Yeah, and you know, I love to do at the end of my shows. On my Sunday shows, I do a dog and turd of the week. Okay. If you want me to go first, I can go give my turd of the week first, or would you like to go first?
I don't want to. My turd of the week, it happens to be, and I don't know if you've talked about this, but Patrick Beverley this week, you know, shoving the microphone and acting like, oh, did you subscribe to my podcast? Brother, nobody cares about your podcast. They're checking out Nick Botkins, the Bodkin Show. They're checking out the We Like Sports Show with Ed in Columbus. And that's what they're doing, Patrick Beverley. And we don't treat people like that. We have respect. You are the turd of the week.
I like that, Ed. I have not really talked about that, but I do like that turd. But my turd of the week is none other than the Phoenix Suns. I mean, you get this super team together of Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Booker, and it looks like it's supposed to be finals or bust. And more importantly, Bradley Beal, where the hell were you in Game 4 when your team needed you? Only scored 9 more points than me and Ed in that game. And guess what? We weren't souping up, but if I could, I probably could have scored at least more 9 points, maybe 10. I don't know. Just kidding. I probably couldn't have scored none. But, you know, nonetheless, the Phoenix Suns getting swept by the Timberwolves 4-0. Sweeping out and what would be a absolute miserable team, a team that many people touted as finals champions, could contend with the Nuggets, couldn't even get out of the first round to the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Phoenix Suns and Bradley Beal, more importantly, stinking up the joint, are my turd of the week.
Wow. They not only they weren't the only Suns that got eclipsed this year. I know we had the eclipse on April 8th, and looks like your turd over there took care of Phoenix right there. Love it.
Oh yeah, they stunk. I mean, Bradley Beal, man, you're supposed to be a guy. You got to score at least 20 or more, and they're gonna have to blow that thing up too. And Frank Vogel get fired, and it won't even be his fault.
Yeah, that's how the NBA works. So they don't fire the players.
Yeah, amen to that. Ed, who's your dog of the week?
My dog of the week happens to be Cleveland Cavalier Donovan Mitchell, putting up 89 points in games 6 and 7, leading the Cleveland Cavaliers to round 2 to face the Boston Celtics in the Eastern semis. And I'm excited about that. Like I said, it harkens back to 92 because I mentioned that they lost to the Bulls in the 92 Eastern Conference Finals. But before that, they went 7 games with the Boston Celtics and ended Larry Bird's career in Game 7. That was in Cleveland. I know Game 7 this year would be in Boston, but who cares? We got to get there first. But my guy of the weekend is got to be Donovan Mitchell. It's definitely
all right. My dog of the week is none other than he was dog on the card last night at UFC 301. And I called it on Head Kicks and Haymakers. I said he's going to be the dog, and he's my dog of the week. And that is none other than the king of Rio, Jose Aldo Jr., baby. The guy who took 2 years off of fighting in the UFC, came back. They tried to feed him a young kid, number 12 bantamweight in the world. And Jose Aldo turned back the clock and beat the kid up and down for 15 minutes. It was never in doubt. The legendary man, Hall of Famer, now dog of the week, Jose Aldo is my dog of the week, baby.
You got to come to Cleveland with that dog mask and get in the dog pound.
I feel like I fit in. I'm not a Browns fan, but I feel like you guys got good vibes there at the dog pound.
You are our kind of Nick Bodkins. You are our kind of people, no doubt.
Hey, I appreciate it, Ed. I appreciate it. Ed, let the people know where they can find you at, and we appreciate you coming on, brother.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, thank you, Nick Bodkins, for inviting me on because I love your show. I love what you do. I love what Let's Talk Sports does. But check me out with the boys and the fellows over at We Like Sports tomorrow, 6 o'clock. We're putting it down. We talk a lot of Cavaliers magic. Also, catch me 10 p.m. I do the dog chug with Andy, Roger, and Ross. So we do that. We have a spit, sip, chug segment that we do, kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly, where we say a statement and kind of do it that way, have a little fun. Sometimes I get a little drunk, Nick Bodkins. Sometimes I do. I can't help it. It's huge.
Hey.
And I love to do it,
We've been a little drunk. We've been on Cloud 69 on this podcast a time or two, my friend. So if you know what I mean.
Hey, Sounds good to me. No. Yeah, Ed in Columbus, and check me out there. And thank you, Nick Bodkins, for inviting me on.
Always, anytime, Ed. Open invite anytime. Folks, it's been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. I'll be back tomorrow night with the guys from the Let's Talk Sports Show, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. Be a friend, tell a friend. Ed in Columbus, make sure you guys check out this guy. Obviously a great guy, all the way from Ohio. So anything you want to talk Ohio sports and then some, check out the guys from We Like Sports and Ed and all the stuff that they do. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks. Like, subscribe, share. I'll see you tomorrow night. I'm going to hit that outro. We'll see you then.